So, good day, everyone. So, my name is JUNBERT Bacalso, and for today's online session meeting, we will be tackling about constructivism approach. So, before let's start, everyone, so let's define first what is constructivism approach. So, when we say constructivism approach, so it is an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or what we say this one, make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by the experiences of the learner. So next slide. Yeah, that's it. So as what I said earlier about the definition of constructivism approach, and according to the book, constructivism approach is anchored on John Piaget's cognitive constructivism and Lev Vygotsky's social constructivism. So from this topic, we will be tackling about John Piaget, constructivism, cognitive constructivism, and Lev Vygotsky's social constructivism. So constructivism advocates that learners um, build knowledge out of their experiences and ideas, what I've said earlier. And this knowledge, guys, is then shared and enhanced through interaction with significant others. Next. Yeah. And we will be talking about different authors about this one. We will be citing them on what their definition or what will be their learning about the constructivism. So according to Lev Vygotsky in 1978, so he explained that a deeper understanding of concepts is achieved through language and interaction with one another. So from this quotation, it tackles about interaction between one person to another or the peers. So, and according to Soto in 2007, he believed that learners take responsibility for their own learning, and while teachers facilitate learning within a social context. And lastly, according to Lave and Bencher in 1991 and Duffy in 2009, stressed that learning does not only depend on cognitive processes, but also in social interactions and community engagement and other learning processes in a contextualized learning. So in the whole context, we can say that constructivism, it tackles about interaction between one person to another and to gain the desired outcomes for the learning by the experiences with the students. So yeah, what is the beliefs of constructivism? So first, we will be talking about the society and culture affect learning. So in the next slide, why do we say so that society and culture affect learning, and learning involves community engagement. So and lastly, social interaction is equally important because of the characteristics of learners as social learners. But how do teachers use constructivist approach? So in a constructivist classroom, guys, or to the listener here, so teachers create situations in which the students will question their own and each other's assumptions. So from this, there will be interaction between the teachers and the students to the students, to their co-students. So in a similar way, a constructivist teacher creates situations in which he or she is able to challenge the assumptions upon which traditional learning and are based. So, for example, of the constructivist approach is that reciprocal teaching learning and inquiry-based learning, and also problem-based learning, and also cooperative learning. So, in society and culture affect learning. So, because culture influences among you guys and how we see the world and how we see also into the community. So that we live in the community and how we communicate with each other. So between the person who are living in the community. So being a part of a culture influences our learning, remembering, talking, and behaving. So therefore, culture determines a great extent the learning and teaching style also. So learning involves community engagement. So community engagement pedagogies often called service learning. So are ones that combine learning goals and community service. So in ways that can enhance both student growth and common good. So in the last part, social interaction. So social interaction plays an important role in learning. So interacting with other people has proven to be quite effective in assessing the learning and the learner rather to organize their thoughts and also what we call this one reflect on their understanding and find gaps of reasoning, guys. So so in this slide, um, at the next juncture of this slide, so we will be tackling about John Piaget's cognitive constructivism. So what does this theory all about? So this theory stresses that learners take active roles in understanding and creating and making sense of the information in terms of developmental stages, developmental tasks, and learning style. So from this one, we can say that we can cite an example so that we can know about this theory, or we can elaborate more about this one. So, for example, so the teacher must bear in mind the rule those fundamental concepts. So, such as what we call this one, the permanence objects, the the place place when it comes to establishing cognitive structures. And Piaget's theory of constructivism argues that people produce knowledge and from meaning based upon their experiences. So because there are things that learners can and cannot understand at the different situations, and also learners develop cognitive abilities through developmental stages. And the third one is learners fit in new experiences into their existing schema or assimilation, and also learners alter existing schema to integrate their new experiences, or what we can say about, or what we call this one as accommodation. So next one is we will be tackling the second one is the Lev Vygotsky social constructivism. So this theory emphasizes that learning is the building through social encounters with peers and adults. So the heart of learning involves active social interaction. So social interaction or vis-a-vis culture is vital in the learning processes. So as mentioned by Tomasello et al. In 1993, he said here, he quoted about the social interaction and culture affect learning. So meaning forming their own view of the world relies heavily on interaction with significant others and the essentially of culture. So we can say that we can cite example a social constructivist approaches. So um, for me or for us, according to my research, guys, to the listener here, so when we say social constructivist approach, so it should require the students to collaborate and critically analyze the issue at hand. So some examples, this one, guys, is of collaborative learning activities are group problem solving, group inquiry, simulations, and debate. So as we can say in the social constructivism, it is more in interaction within the peers. So as I can say earlier, one of the example is problem solving, because in problem solving, there is this one, what we call this brainstorming. And also in the group inquiry, there is ideas from one person to another, and it will be gathered, and that's the time there will be interaction, and there will be sharing of experiences from the individuals. Yeah. So guys, so the following are the major considerations when applying this theory. So this one we should know about this one, the zone of proximal development, the scaffolds, the SF, the social interactions, and the more knowledgeable KMO. So that what we should remember in social constructivism approach. So the last one is Albert Bandura's social learning theory. So this theory is simply known as BUVO or Bubudal experiment. So in this experiment, Bandura used inflatable redounding bubudals to represent social models of novel or new violent behavior and non-violent behavior of young children. So that's what Zhu and Brown said in 2015. And based on this experiment, so it can be concluded that novel patterns of behavior can be required through observing behaviors of others or directly experiencing being with others. So by Bandura in 1971. So in this theory, since social learning theory encompasses attention, memory, and motivation, so this one, it serves as a bridge between behaviorist and cognitive learning theories. So hence, Bandura renamed it as social cognitive theory. So when we say social cognitive theory, guys, so it is the claims that learning occurs through a dynamic and reciprocal interaction. So the learner in the environment and the behavior within a social context. So that's what we call as the, and there will be, in the next slide, we will be tackling about the social cognitive theory. And according to Bandura, modified are classified as real life or direct modeling. So when we say real life or direct modeling, guys, so it is a type of modeling where learners imitate the model's behavior. And the second one is symbolic modeling. So when we say symbolic modeling, so it is a type of modeling where learners imitate the behaviors displayed by characters in books, plays, or it could be in movies or in television. The third one is synthesized modeling. So this modeling, it is a type of modeling where learners develop behaviors by combining portions of observed acts. And the fourth one is the acts modeling. So it is a type of modeling where learners infer a system or rules by observing examples where rules are displayed. So the four phases that we should remember is about the phases of observational learning according to Bandura. So the first one is attention. So attention. So this phase requires let's go back. So this phase requires learners to initially pay attention to be able to observe fully and distinctive features of the modus behavior. And the second one is retention. So this phase allows learners to retain or recall the observed behavior. And the third one is motor reproduction process. So when we say about this one, so the phase entails physical skills and coordination because they are needed for imitation of the learned behavior. So, and the last one is motivational process. So this phase causes learners to explicitly perform the model behavior to receive favorable conditions. So, the example to elaborate more about the Bandura's theory. So one of the example this one to conclude. So one of the example is that a student might learn something because of their pride. So for a sense of satisfaction or to fulfill a feeling of accomplishment. So this factor of learning, extrinsically connects to Bandura's learning theory to those of their cognitive theory. So again, so from this topic is that we tackles about the social constructivism approach. So so that's all, guys. So before let's end about this topic, so I would like to take honor or to take credit about the reference in the book of Facilitating Learning Centered Teaching by Teresita Tabada, Rongdin, Philippine Dr. Maravilla Lydia, Bulan, and Ed Caro. So thank you, everyone. And thank you for listening my topic about the social constructivism approach. So I hope um, you you learned something from the discussion. And thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.